and welcome to the Candidate Forum for the Washington County Sheriff. I am Heidi Boyd, a member of the League of Women Voters, White Bear Lake area, and I will be your moderator today. I do not live in Washington County. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan volunteer organization which encourages citizens to participate in government. Our mission is to support voter education and voters' rights. Though the League studies and takes positions on issues, we do not support or oppose any candidate or political party. Our goal is to encourage citizens to learn more about the positions of the candidates who will be on our ballot on November 3rd. All candidates who filed to run for this position were invited to participate, and today we have all three candidates, and they are Jeremy Bolen, Henry Mathia, and Brian Mueller. To begin, each candidate will introduce themselves by name and make an opening statement of up to 1.5 minutes. Our timekeeper will show warning signs of 30 and 50 seconds and then a stop sign, and at that time, the candidate will finish their sentence. For the opening statement, candidates will respond in alphabetical order by last name. Thereafter, the order of speaking will be rotated. Candidates will have 1.5 minutes to respond to each question. Candidates, you do not have to use the entire time. You can say what you have to say and be done. That will allow more time for questions. When questions are finished, candidates will have 1 minute for their closing statement, and that will be done in reverse alphabetical order by last name. The questions for the forum were received in advance from the public and reviewed by a committee of League of Women Voter members. We do not use questions that are unclear, hostile, or of a personal nature. We have consolidated questions that fall in the same general topic area. All questions that are submitted are the property of the League of Women Voters. And now our recording policy. This forum is being recorded today by Valley Access and is being live streamed. The complete unedited recording will be posted on our League's website and YouTube channel and may be replayed on the local cable channel. Editing is authorized only for official media reporting. Experts or edited clips of this forum may not be used. Candidates may share a link to the full recording. And now we'll start the forum with our opening statements. And we'll start with candidate Jeremy Bolen. Jeremy, could you please tell us why you're running for this seat and what your qualifications are?
Thank you for that question. First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters on behalf of my colleagues up here and their community partners in hosting this platform today. I'm currently the Commander of Administrative Services for the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office. I've been in that position for 3 years. Previously to that, I oversaw our Water Patrol unit for the last 9 years. Through my experience the last 22 years, I have worked in every capacity of every division within Ramsey County Sheriff's Office. So I feel that the time now for the Sheriff's Office here in Washington County needs a change. And I believe that I can bring that change with new and innovative ideas, and I look forward to serving as the next sheriff.
Thank you. And candidate Mathia.
Good morning. Thanks for having us. And I also want to thank you guys for what you guys do as an organization, educated people, and also trying to inform the voters, so that they can make the wise decision. My name is Henry Mathia. Just a quick background. I've been in Washington County since 2001. I was born in West Africa, moved to the United States in 1997, and shortly after that, I joined the Navy. Recently retired from the United States Navy after 27 years of service. So while in Navy, I had the opportunity to, be a leader at every level, from lower level supervision to a Navy chief, and also I became a commissioned officer where I was in a position to actually be the OIC of different units, not only in the United States, but also overseas deployment. I've been in Ramsey County since 2012. Mostly being in patrol division. So while being in patrol, I've had the experience to expose myself to different calls, meet people in the community, talk to citizens, and pretty much give me a pretty good insight of what needs to change, which is why I'm running for public safety, constitutional rights, and also jail management, because we have to save the taxpayers' money wisely. I see my time is up, but thank you.
Thank you. And candidate Mueller.
Good morning. Thank you again to the League for hosting this. Really excited to be here. My name is Brian Mueller, and I am a proud husband to my wife Lori and proud father to our 5 children. I'm a lifelong resident growing up in Washington County, spent my entire career working here. I'm currently Chief of Police for the City of Stillwater, and prior to that I spent 23 years at the Sheriff's Office. At the Sheriff's Office, I held every rank and every position, I think with the exception of a canine. I did not have a dog at the Sheriff's Office. I started my career as a 911 dispatcher with the City of White Bear Lake and a community service officer. And part of White Bear Lake serves Washington County and Birchwood and areas of Matamidi. So really proud of my background at the Sheriff's Office. I was a patrol deputy, starting my patrol career up in Hugo. Worked in several ranks of sergeant, administrative sergeant, investigative sergeant. I was in charge of our drug task force, ran that organization while I was at the Sheriff's Office, and was a division commander for investigations patrol as well. I ended my career as the chief deputy of the Washington County Sheriff's Office, overseeing all day-to-day operations while I was working for Sheriff Dan Starry. So again, I'm really excited to be here, and I look forward to being your next sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you for those opening statements. And now we'll move on to our questions. And we'll start our questions with candidate Mathia, followed by candidate Bolen, and then candidate Mueller. So question 1, what do you see, candidate Mathia, as the most challenging issue for the Sheriff's Department, and what actions would you take to address that challenge?
Actually, a few issues. I'm going to start with. So according to the police, there's something called the police scorecard, right? Washington County is at 47%, so which is at a very low, 47% is a very low percentage. They need to get a percentage up. And what that says is when it comes to several issues, they focus on several issues. The data focuses on several issues like, police misconduct, excessive force, racial disparities. And so they look at all those numbers for a very long period of time, and then they score. So the score is at 47%, which is pretty bad. So that is one issue which, if I become the sheriff, I'm going to try to address so we can increase that percentage, probably go up to 60, 70%, for this size of a department. It needs to be at that level. That's one issue. Another issue is just protecting the constitutional right of the citizens. As the sheriff is an elected position, is a constitutional elected position, and our job is not only to protect public safety, but also protect the constitutional right of the people. And I've been going around speaking to the citizens of this county. That is one big issue that people keep telling me about. So. That is something I'm going to focus on, try to protect, people's right. I do have more, but my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Bolen.
One of the things that I see is the most challenging for the Washington County Sheriff's Office is retention. It's my understanding that we're almost 20 deputies short, which results in more overtime, which becomes a burden on the taxpayer and the general budget for the office. Second to that would be mental health, and that is across the board. 23% of our population suffers from some form of mental health. And with that would be within our jail system, our correctional departments. The jail is not a place to house people for mental illness. They're not established with the appropriate resources to treat mental health. So through community partnerships, I don't play an expert in mental health, but I believe that through strong community partnerships, bringing in the experts and being able to provide resources to people with mental illness, that we are able to correct the vision or the focus point on mental illness throughout our correctional facilities. So those are my two most, I believe, is the most challenging for the Sheriff's Office right now. Thank you.
Thank you. And Candidate Mueller.
Thank you. That's a great question. Candidate Bolen, is correct. So mental health and substance use support in our communities is the number one thing I think facing our officers. And I mean that out in the community as well as taking care of our officers internally. So I would suggest that 85% of the calls for service that we receive in Washington County, and that's over 200,000 calls for service every single year, have some nexus to mental health and substance use issues in our community. So I'm proud to say that I've, at the Sheriff's Office, started an opioid reduction effort working with Hazleton in our jail. I've worked with mental health issues internally with our co-responder. I'm proud to say that we've developed a co-responder unit here at Stillwater, and that is in partnership with the Washington County Sheriff's Office and Washington County Community Services. So the needs in our community are great, and as long as we keep talking about and reduce that stigma in terms of mental health and substance use disorder, that's going to greatly affect our community. And so internally as well, Washington County currently has a clinician internally to take care of our officers. And so our officers are people too. They're husbands, wives, children, brothers, sisters, and they deal with the same issues. And so taking care of our deputies internally so they can be amazing first responders is one of our major issues as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to question 2, and the order for this question will start with Candidate Mueller, the second will be Candidate Bolen, and third will be Candidate Mathia. The question is, what role, if any, do you think that the Sheriff's Department should play in immigration enforcement? If there is a role, how should this be balanced with all the department's other duties to continue to ensure local public safety?
Thank you. Very timely topic, very timely question. So absolutely, as your sheriff, the Washington County Sheriff's Office will not play any role in enforcing civil immigration, and they don't right now. As the Chief of Police for the City of Stillwater, we do the same. That being said, we need to have strong relationships with our federal partners. And the way to combat crime in our community is to work closely with our federal partners, FBI, DEA, ATF, et cetera. So what I think in hindsight, when we look back, I've had lots of conversations with our immigration enforcement leaders locally, and I tell you what happened during Metro Surge wasn't our local immigration enforcement. These are border protection individuals that came here and didn't police how individuals in Minnesota wanted to be policed. But I'll tell you in hindsight, us local law enforcement working closely with immigration so we can be guardians and caretakers of our community and ensure that if there's federal enforcement happening, that it's done in a way that we expect our citizens to be respected and taken care of. Because ultimately, the reason we will not enforce federal immigration, civil federal immigration, is because I want all of the citizens to feel comfortable calling 911. And if they don't feel that comfortable and they feel like their local law enforcement is enforcing federal immigration, that means we cannot get to touch and reach out to our victims and some of our most vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Bolen.
Thank you for that question. And I completely agree with Candidate Mueller's point on it. As sheriff, I will not allow the office to be partnered or have any participation with federal immigration. We had untrained federal agents here that traumatized our communities. The role as a sheriff is to ensure that our communities across the board are safe. Everybody within our county is safe. And that when you call 911, regardless of your immigration status or your political party or your sexual orientation, the sheriff's office has the duty to respond professionally and provide resources to everybody without asking or further undoing the status of one's citizenship. I think that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And candidate Mathia.
Yes, ma'am, good question. It seems like we all agree on just the basic when it comes to immigration enforcement. But just to let the public know, immigration enforcement is the job of the federal government, not the local county sheriff's office. But with that being said, there's a program called the 287 program, which usually is kind of like a contract between the government and sheriff's office in terms of detaining, immigrants who might have some kind of ICE hold. I am not against that program. I think we need that 287 program because, national security issue. Being in the Navy for 25 years, I know we definitely need that because sometimes, we have to, be in a position where we can, if somebody have a criminal record where, foreign nations are looking for them, we have to be in a position where we can hold that individual. But yeah, we all agree on the same issue that immigration enforcement is the job of the federal government, not the local county sheriff's office. If I become the sheriff, of this county, I can assure you that no one is going to be enforcing immigration enforcement, and we are going to, be protecting everyone, under the law equally, whether you have a legal status or not. Our job is to protect every citizen in the community, regardless of your immigration status. So that's what I'm going to do. But again, the 287 program, which most people are not familiar with, I'm not against that because we do need that when it comes to national security. And as a perfect example, I believe after 9/11, where one of the hijackers were actually detained in Minnesota because of that 287 program. Thanks.
Thank you. And this next question picks up on that topic of 287. So question 3 will start with candidate Bolen, go next to candidate Mueller, and last to candidate Mathia. So the question is, there are 8 counties in Minnesota that have entered into contracts with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, per Section 287G of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Washington County is not one of them. What is your position on whether the county should enter into a 287G contract and train officers and legally empower them to enforce federal immigration laws on behalf of the federal government? So what is your position on that? And then why or why not? Starting with candidate Bolen.
Thank you for that question. I oppose that. I believe that if a crime is committed, somebody should be held accountable by taking a bold stance, housing them in our facility under their current criminal charges, just like any other county in the state. If they have an active warrant or if a hold is placed on them, we notify them when their charges are, when they've wrapped up their current criminal charges and their accountability for the crimes committed here in Washington County. From there, if it happens to be an immigration hold, then we notify immigration that they're expired and they need to come and get them. But having a time frame where we're only going to hold them, say, for example, 4 hours. After that, I don't have the obligation to hold them beyond that. And that's my stance on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to candidate Mueller.
Yeah, I don't disagree with candidate Bolen. We absolutely want to hold individuals accountable that have committed crimes in Washington County, and we will do that as much as we can. And this to me is about relationships. So having relationships with our local federal partners, notifying them, they have all told me to my face that if we give them notice that someone's expiring on a criminal charge, that they will have federal agents pick them up when they're released. And so working in conjunction with our federal partners, we can ensure that happens without entering into that contract. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidate Mathia.
So the 287 program is not a standardized program where, every county is going to be using the same language. So as a sheriff, you got to pay attention to the exact language that is in the 287 program, right? Just because you go into contracts with the government on the 287 program doesn't mean you're going to be out there looking for, immigrants and then just bring them to your jail. If the language that has to be in the 287 program needs to say, strictly says that you have to commit a local crime. So if you commit, say, for example, like a domestic violence offense in Washington County and you get arrested, that's when, you come to our jail and then finish your time. That's when the 287 program, goes into effect. You have to have committed a crime for me to be able to enforce that 287 program. The 287 program doesn't mean I'm going to be sending my deputies to go out there and then start arresting people. So I know you mentioned 8 counties in Minnesota that are using the 287 program. A lot of them are abusing the program because they have, strictly focusing on going after immigrants simply because of their immigration status, which I think is unfair. So that program needs to be in place, like the chief was saying, because we have to have some kind of partnership with the federal government. And one way to have a partnership with the federal government, have that constant communication, is to have a program like that. And it goes both ways, especially when you have to do like extradition, where someone might be in custody of the federal government, but they've committed a crime in Washington County, and you need to bring them back so they can face the consequences. So you need a program so you can have a partnership with the federal government. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to question 4, and we'll start with candidate Mathia, second will be candidate Mueller, and third will be candidate Bolen. So question 4 is, work in law enforcement can be stressful and increases the risk of some chronic diseases. As sheriff, what steps will you take to proactively support the physical and mental well-being of your staff? Candidate Mathia.
Good question. Jeremy and Brian mentioned PTSD and mental health. I think right now that's the biggest, that's a serious issue. Mental health is a serious issue. I've seen it, been in the military, been in Ramsey County for all these years, working in patrol. Mental health is a serious issue. It affects us in law enforcement, and also the people that work in the communication center, dispatchers, because they send us to the calls, and you can just feel it in their voices because it also affects them. So not only us, law enforcement, but we also have to think ahead about people that work in the dispatch, and also the community. We tend not to focus on, especially people that live in the inner cities, that constant violence, especially younger kids. I've seen them, because of that constant violence in their community, they are also suffering from PTSD. And if we really want to make a difference, we have to be taking preemptive approach, focusing on, instead of waiting until they get so bad and then started using drugs, and then we, go there, send them to the hospital or whatever treatment, we have to be taking steps where we preemptively engage with those kids in those communities, trying to fix it before it gets bad. And so yeah, mental health is a serious one, and I can go on of what needs to be done, as a sheriff, whether it's mental health initiatives and all the other stuff. Thank you.
Candidate Mueller.
Thank you. One of the most important questions, I think, that is here today is taking care of those that serve. And I want to, as your sheriff, I'll continue some of the great things that are happening, some of the great programming that's happening in Washington County. Like I mentioned before, currently they have a clinician on site every day. They contract with that. And so every employee, whether you're in records, dispatch, courts, patrol, assigned to a special assignment, whatever, you can see someone every single day. That's of utmost importance. And this question is truly important today. I believe today is PTSD Awareness Day. And I've been to too many funerals, too many law enforcement funerals of my partners that have taken their lives. And partners that I've worked with directly, that I've supervised, that I've been friends with. And so the goal is to stop that. And yes, there are great pressures on our officers and our women and men that serve our communities. And so how do we take care of them? It's being intentional, asking them what they need, looking at things innovatively. We have to listen to them. So at the Stillwater Police Department right now, I have individuals coming to me saying, hey, Chief, can we start looking at sabbaticals? So we're evaluating that right now. These aren't my ideas, but I'm listening to our officers bring these ideas up. And so if we can work closely, we have to take care of our first responders, and doing that means being intentional and listening to them, and sometimes being innovative. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Bolen.
Thank you for the question. Law enforcement wear multiple hats, or we're expected to. One thing that I talk about when I'm meeting with the public is that we're human beings. We are not robots. We see things that the human body is not supposed to see or encounter in life. But yet we're supposed to go home and be a partner, a dad, a brother, a son. We have to do better. 2 weeks ago, I buried a friend of mine who took his life, who happened to be a lieutenant with the State Patrol. It's happening way too often, and we have to do better. And if we aren't at the level that we need to be, how are we supposed to effectively support our community? As sheriff, I would want to create or reevaluate the current employee wellness program. Start a peer support program where, everybody has a peer support advisor or a coworker that you can turn to when, after a really bad call, you can turn to and you can talk through your problem. Or if you're struggling at home, having resources where you're not tipping a bottle back and then dealing with the things that you filed away that were too painful to deal with. So we have to do better as leadership. We have to do better as a community and as a profession in all. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to question 5. We'll start with candidate Bolen, then candidate Mathia, then candidate Mueller. And we're staying on the topic of mental health, this time talking about people in the community. So in terms of responding to someone in crisis in the community, what steps can be taken to de-escalate a mental health crisis and reduce the risk of violent outcomes, injury, or death? Candidate Bolen.
Thank you for that question. I would like to start as sheriff co-response with embedded social workers that respond side by side with law enforcement. Law enforcement doesn't have to come in and beat their chest, because a crime may not have been committed. Somebody's in crisis, they need help. And sometimes just the presence of a uniform could either trigger or could calm. But we also can't send social workers in without the protection or the other resources that are needed to effectively accomplish the mission, which is making sure that everybody goes home safe. But we also have to educate our officers, our deputies, our law enforcement partners, and train them to be able to de-escalate without using violence. Use your words, use different tactics to be able to calm somebody down, bring them down from crisis, so you have the opportunity to talk them into an ambulance rather than force them in an ambulance. Mental illness is not a crime, but it's one of the hats that law enforcement has to wear. So having a co-response vision with embedded social workers, and again, I'm not an expert in mental health, let's bring those to the table and be able to utilize those within our community and get people the appropriate response or resources. Thank you.
Candidate Mathia.
That is a good question. Recently, I saw the Washington County Commission has recently signed a funding for Oakdale to have social workers with their police department so they can respond to mental health calls. The Washington County Commission they just recently passed a funding for Oakdale. That's a good thing. When it comes to responding to a PIC call, first thing that you have to pay attention to, okay, what are we dealing with? Is the individual by himself or herself? Are they with someone else? So if they are by themselves, our response, the way we respond kind of changes, because we have time, we can communicate, get some crisis intervention people to, make a phone call, social workers to make a phone call, trying to talk to those people so that we can give them the help that they need. Now, if they are in there with someone else and we have reason to believe that that individual, the safety of that individual is in question, then we have to act differently. But those type of calls comes down to training. I just mentioned CIT, which is the intervention training, crisis intervention training program, which all of us have done. Every deputies, every police officers have done it. But the issue is we mostly do it once every few years when it's time to renew our license. So that's something that needs to change. There has to be a sustainment training, including the CIT, where people have to do it every year so that they can maintain that level of readiness when it comes to those type of calls. Doing it once every few years doesn't really help us. Thanks.
Thank you. And candidate Mueller.
Thank you. I do feel the need to educate the public a little bit. It's been brought up, starting some different programs. So Washington County currently has an embedded social worker program, and they're in almost every police department in Washington County. And it's a great program, again, in partnership with Washington County Community Services, and Stillwater, the department I'm in charge of now, partakes in that. And is a great program, absolutely should happen, but it is happening. And secondly, Washington County does have a peer support program as well currently. And so these are just programs that are currently happening at Washington County that I'm super proud of having been a part of. We deal with this a lot and have in Stillwater recently, and we have officers that do an amazing job de-escalating out on the street. One thing I'm super proud of, I've been the commander of our SWAT team for many years. I served 17 years on the SWAT team, retiring as the overall commander. Part of that SWAT team is our crisis negotiations team. And these are officers, it's a collateral team. These women and men are out in the streets taking calls for service every single day. We rely on them, so we train, as Ken and Mathia said, everyone gets training and CIT training every year, it's state mandated. But these officers are specially trained and they're out there every single day. And so we've had several calls around our bridge, in our community, that these crisis negotiators respond and do an amazing job taking control of the scene and de-escalating. They've saved lives over and over. Really proud of the team, really proud of our SWAT team, and really proud of our negotiations team helping in the community that way.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to the next question. The topic is diversity in our communities. And we're going to start with candidate Mueller, then candidate Bolen, and then last candidate Mathia. The question is, what are the actions you would take to promote racial awareness, address implicit bias, and strengthen relationships with diverse communities in Washington County? And starting with candidate Mueller.
Yeah, thank you. We are super fortunate here in the city of Stillwater. We have a Human Rights Commission, and I don't know that all communities have that, and been working really, really closely with them here. Again, this is about relationships. It's about being out in the community. As a lifelong resident, I'm the only candidate that's lived here my entire career, my entire life, born and raised here. So I've seen how Washington County has changed. And working for the Sheriff's Office and working for Stillwater, we've met that. So our community, or our officers, our offices, should absolutely reflect the communities that we serve. And that is our goal. That's the goal of every police chief in Washington County as well as a sheriff. And so working in those communities, getting to know, working with, down at the mosque in Woodbury, I've spent a lot of time down there working with that Islamic community and just getting to know them. This was during a time that that group was being threatened. So what do? We just went and talked and sat down and listened to them to find out what their needs are. And that is what we'll do. As your sheriff, we'll have deputies in every parts of our community, in every city in our community, listening and working with the local law enforcement agencies to find out what our community needs. So it's really just about listening and being present in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Bolen.
Thank you for that question. Although I have not grown up here, I was not born and raised in Washington County. But I've lived here the last 20 years and I've chosen to make Washington County my home. To raise my 9-year-old son and to develop our family as we have. I agree with candidate Mueller's idea of we need to recruit individuals who represent our communities. And that's across the board, from our professional staff to our correctional officers, to our 911 dispatchers, and to our frontline deputy sheriffs, and even within the administration of the sheriff's office. But we have to also get out and educate the community. We have to be seen in the community. The sheriff's boss is the voters. So we have to be able to be comfortable going in any and every community within Washington County, own our mistakes when we make mistakes, and be able to collaborate to be able to bring change that is needed to effectively do police work within Washington County. So with that, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidate Mathia.
That is a good question. Diversity. Okay. So, I mean, they pretty much mentioned what I was going to say in terms of partnership with the community. And one of my key priorities is community cohesion. And part of that community cohesion is to create partnership with people in the communities, the schools, Chief mentioned religious institution, create partnership, businesses, business leaders, and also community leaders to create those partnership and then see what needs to be done to improve, diversity within our county. Now in Minnesota, you have to have a 2-year degree to be qualified to become a police officer or deputy, and to go to college for 2 years costs money. Because I've been there. I had to drop out of college, a 2-year college, because I couldn't afford it, which is, and I ended up joining the Navy because of that. I think that's one of the biggest issues that is affecting our recruiting, to have a diverse sheriff's department, because a lot of people can't afford that. And, I hate to say it, but most of these people that can't afford it lives in the inner cities, and predominantly people in the inner cities are minorities. So which is one of the key issues why you have a lot of police departments or sheriff's office that have issue with, recruiting diverse candidates. So that's something that I'm going to focus on, how to help people in, diverse community go to college, have a degree, so we can get the best applicants. And like Jeremy said, have a sheriff's department that represent the entire county.
Thank you. Thank you. Question 7, we're going to start with candidate Mathia, and second will be candidate Mueller, followed by candidate Bolen. So this question is, what can law enforcement do to minimize gun violence and increase community safety?
We can do a lot. Well, first of all, we can do a lot. First of all, the gun issue is not just a Washington County or Minnesota issue. It is a nationwide issue. And we have to start with federal government, the members of Congress, and we have to start from there and then start, the executive branch all the way to the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court is, those are the ones making all these decisions that has to do with the Second Amendment, which also affect gun violence. From a sheriff's standpoint, there are a few things, I can do, to reduce the gun violence. One is, come up with a maximum protection plan, assessment, especially for our schools, shopping businesses, shopping areas, religious institutions, which is a big one, because, we saw what happened in Minneapolis, like a year ago. And we also have to focus on, lawmakers, political violence, people using guns. And we saw what happened over a year ago when someone attacked, 2 of our lawmakers and their spouses. So we have to focus on all those, and also education, trying to educate the public about the consequences of gun violence, and just have the maximum level of protection that I can do from a sheriff's standpoint, protecting our schools, the public from gun violence. But we need to focus on a higher level, which is federal government. Thank you.
And candidate Mueller.
Thank you for that question. It's one of my pillars is reducing violent crime. And I'll respectfully disagree. Our focus shouldn't be on the federal government. Our focus should be on the criminals on the streets. I think I'm the only candidate that has time working in an undercover capacity, working for a drug task force, working on any task force. I was fortunate enough to sit on an oversight committee statewide that oversaw all violent crime enforcement teams in the state. I have expertise in this area. I've worked investigations. I've taken guns off criminals on the street, and we've worked on attacking and dismantling high-level cartels. That's where we need a focus. That is where the focus has to be. So how do we do that? We train and equip our officers. One thing also that doesn't get talked enough about is our threat assessment teams. And then part of that, we've coordinated that through Washington County with our partners. And a strong threat assessment team to identify these threats before they become reality in our schools, in our places of worship, in our communities is of absolute utmost importance. And lastly, I'm proud to say I'm endorsed by all the chiefs of police in Washington County. These are lifelong relationships that I've had, and the only way the sheriff's office can be successful in reducing violent crime is working with our local partners and our local municipalities. I'm really proud to have that endorsement because that means someone who lives in Woodbury or Cottage Grove is going to have the best relationship between the sheriff's office and their police department in fighting violent crime and reducing gun violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Bolen.
I also agree with candidate Mueller that I don't believe the federal government is taking on the federal government's the responsibility of the elected sheriff. There's a variety of ways that we can tackle gun violence within the county. We can start off by gun safety, teaching our youth proper gun handling, DNR firearm safety, things like that. That costs nothing. We can send deputies through firearm safety training to be able to become youth firearm instructors in our communities. I agree with the violent task force, or the violent offender task force, working with our municipal law enforcement, communicating, sharing information, utilizing criminal analysts to track data, and then tracking those career offenders to know where those guns are, and the overall goal is to take the guns off the street, and holding those accountable who decide to, a felon in possession of a firearm. Okay, well, they should be held accountable for that. And our job is to make sure that they're safe while they're being held in custody until they have their day in court. But overall, keeping our community safe by working with our law enforcement partners. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Can I respond to that?
There's no opportunity to respond. You could add it into your next response if you'd like. Yeah. So moving on to question 8, and we're going to start with candidate Mueller, then go to candidate Mathia, and last to candidate Bolen. And this question relates to trafficking. A press release from the sheriff dated February 4th, 2026 indicated that the department's drug task force had been investigating and pursuing sex and labor trafficking crimes. How pervasive is this problem in Washington County? And what more, if anything, can the department do to investigate and arrest individuals involved in sex and labor trafficking crimes? And starting with candidate Mueller.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that question. And this is where working in Washington County and not working in a different area gives me a level of expertise. It is pervasive here in Washington County, and I know this because I was part of the Washington County Sheriff's Office when we started the Human Trafficking Task Force. And it is in great partnership with the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension and great partnership with County Attorney Kevin Magnuson and his team at the County Attorney's Office. This is happening at a rate that would astound people. Individuals, there's statistics that within hours, individuals that run away, young children are approached to trade sex for housing and clothing and food within hours. And so we have a dedicated group of individuals at the Sheriff's Office that combat this. Municipalities like the Stillwater Police Department will partner with them doing John stings. And our goal is to protect some of our most vulnerable, which is our children that can be affected by this. And so again, it's about the relationships. And again, I can't say enough about County Attorney Magnuson and his team, and then working with the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. It is again, something that's horrifying. The Drug Task Force, again, having experience, actually working for a task force, fighting these kinds of crimes is important as your sheriff. The sheriff should have that experience so he can lead or she can lead those organizations asking to combat that crime and keep our community safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Mathia.
Thank you for the question. That's a serious issue, and the only way we can one of the ways that we can fix it is to have partnership with, local law enforcement agencies in not only Washington County, but the entire state and also the entire United States, including, the federal government, because, we need those partnership. We also have nonprofit organizations that helps out with educating the public. There's an organization called CAST, Community Against Sex Trafficking. It's a nonprofit organization where you have a group of citizens going out there educating the public, having all these different seminar to educate the public, look for signs, because in most cases, they are more effective than, all showing up with our task force, because they can actually develop relationship with people in the community to solve, sex trafficking. Let's go back to gun violence. I'm not saying that the federal government is the only one that should be responsible. I'm just saying they are part of the package, because we can have all the best programs in Washington County, but if Wisconsin is not having the same programs like we do, it's still going to affect us, because we don't have a standardized program to reduce gun violence. I mean, we see it in Chicago, Chicago has the strict, one of the most strict laws for guns, but they still have a lot of gun issues because you have a state like Indiana that doesn't have the same program. So all I'm saying is we need an entire package to solve the gun violence. We just can't focus on, just Washington County, because it's a nationwide issue. Thank you.
And Candidate Bolen.
In regards to trafficking of drugs and sex trafficking, human trafficking, being a border county, we know that it's crossing the border over from our neighbors to the east in Wisconsin. We need to partner better with our state partners, our local municipalities, and our federal partners, being that, we know the drugs aren't coming, from across the river, and it's not being harvested and developed across the river. But it's also coming from every other angle into Washington County. All of the major roadways that cross border or come into this county, we know it's there. In regards to the sex trafficking part, creating a stronger task force, not only, going for grants, going for working with partnerships with their communities, working with partnerships from the government. We have to be able to work together on it and not, as one individual, control the whole thing. And understanding the task force is individuals from multiple agencies that come in and are able to enforce the law, holding people accountable. And with drugs, I see the guys out on the road when I come home every day, they're doing good traffic stops, making good arrests. We just have to be we have to be educated as well and be able to hold everybody accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. So this will be our last question, and it's on a much lighter topic, which is e-bikes. We're going to start with Candidate Bolen, then Candidate Mathia, and last will be Candidate Mueller. So the question is, the Sheriff's Department has seen an increase in the number of calls and complaints related to e-bikes, such as accidents, near crashes, and unsafe riding in public parks. What steps do you think the department should take to address e-bike safety? And starting with Candidate Bolen.
I did not expect that question, but thank you for asking it. We have to do education. We have to educate those that, maybe they don't understand the rules because it's an e-bike, it's different than a regular bike. Different bikes can go different speeds. There's the fat tire bike, there's but through education and bike safety rodeos, partnering with our Parks Department and getting deputies out also can benefit employee wellness. Getting e-bikes ourselves and going out into the community, engaging with them, educating them on what the rules are, especially within all the other municipalities. But being out there, being seen, and having the opportunity to educate others on what the rules are. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Candidate Mathia.
That is a good question. I wasn't expecting a question on e-bikes. And honestly, I don't really have any statistics on e-bikes in Washington County, but I do love the idea because especially when gas prices are expensive, if people can just have their bikes, ride their bikes and save some money on gas, and also, physical fitness. And if you ride in your bike, whether it's e-bike or just a basic bike, it keeps you in shape. And we just have to make sure that people are safe, educate people on, the rules of engagement when you ride in your bikes, with, motor vehicles. Educate the citizens, show up in different communities, educate them, tell our deputies to, maybe start a program where, if you see someone riding their e-bikes with all their safety gear on, give them a patch, young kids, give them a patch, say, hey, good job, make sure you have your helmet and all that stuff. Educate the public, but I do support the idea. I think it's a good idea. Maybe I should invest in e-bikes. That way I can save money on gas. But thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Mueller.
That is a topical question here in the city of Stillwater. And I think what we're talking about, not just general e-bikes, and I'm sure the question is talking about the e-motos, the little tiny motorcycles that our kids are driving. I have a 14-year-old. Some of his friends have these bikes, and they scare the daylights out of me because the kids feel this freedom, and they're flying on the streets. And I really worry about a serious crash and a serious injury resulting from that. So as has been mentioned, education, and that's what we do. Here at the City of Stillwater, we just had a presentation. We work closely with a community group called Sustainable Stillwater and their biking coalition, and they actually educated City Council on this exact issue last council meeting. So having our officers out and about educating is of the highest importance. So for the Sheriff's Office, it has 289 employees, almost 50 plus volunteers. This is an option for our volunteers to be out and about in the community. So the Sheriff's Office can't do what it does without women and men that volunteer their time on a day-to-day basis in our parks, on our waterways, in our communities. So utilizing our volunteers, our reserves to be out in the community, educating individuals on this, I think will make great change. And Washington County has the best parks, the best trails, so I can see why people want to be out and about. So it's just having a uniform presence out, educating, and being part of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will now turn to our closing statements, which we will do in reverse alphabetical order by last name. So we'll start with candidate Mueller, and then candidate Mathia, and then candidate Bolen. And each candidate has 1 minute for their closing statement. So we will start with candidate Mueller.
Great. So thank you very much for hosting this forum. I'm really happy, proud, and excited to tell my message to the community, to earn voters' trust and respect, and ultimately earn their vote on August 11th for the primary, and then ultimately on November 3rd for the general election. I'm really proud of my experience, and I think I would stand to say I'm the only candidate ready to lead from day one based on my experience, holding every rank within the Sheriff's Office, actually running a municipal police department. To me, that's what this community needs. The Sheriff's Office is doing great things, and Washington County is a very safe community. I want to carry that tradition on, looking forward, looking ahead with some innovative ideas and bringing some new things to the Sheriff's Office, but really supporting the women and men that work there and supporting our community. So I look forward to earning your vote, your trust, and being your next sheriff. Thank you.
Candidate Mathia.
Thank you very much. What I'm going to ask for is for people to trust me. 27 years in the U.S. Navy, I have led at different levels as a supervisor, as a Navy chief, and also a commissioned officer. I had the privilege to lead people from different backgrounds, race, gender, religious beliefs, political beliefs, bring them together as one unit, deployed overseas to execute a mission on behalf of, behalf of the United Nations. So I've been in a position to make tough decisions, and I believe with my background, military, and also working for the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office, speaking to the people in the community, I believe I have a pretty good insight of what needs to change. And all I'm asking for people to trust me and give me the opportunity for me to make a change for everyone, protect the public safety, the constitutional right, and also jail management, save the taxpayers' money on, spending our taxpayers wisely. Thank you very much, and I just want to, thank everybody who's watching for listening to my priorities. And if you guys don't like what if I get elected and you guys don't like, what I'm doing, you can vote for them the next time. So, thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Bolen.
Well, again, thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting today and for giving us the opportunity to educate voters on their options. And I also want to thank my co-candidates up here for taking time out today to get together and all share our thoughts and our ideas. I'm running for sheriff for change. I love the community. Like I said, I've chosen to live here and raise my family here. As your sheriff, I plan for the future. And with population growth as rapid as it is, being able to support our municipal police departments when we need to by having the appropriate staffing levels at the sheriff's office. But community comes first. And through that, I look forward to your vote. Early voting started yesterday. The primary, like candidate Mueller said, the primary is August 11th and general's November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our forum for the Washington County Sheriff. Our website, lwv-wbla.org, has listings for all of our candidate forums and links for submitting candidate questions for those forums. You can view the recording of this forum and all of our forums on our YouTube channel, League of Women Voters, White Bear Lake area. You can also look for it on your local cable channel, Valley Access. Thank you all, and remember to vote. Primary election day is August 11th. You can start voting right now by mail or in person through August 10th. Thank you, and good day.